Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I'm going to start out with the Dems on the bus to nowhere type idea, but I'm also going to include some other things, and especially about a guy named Durham that I think you're going to be interested to hear about. So stick with me here. We're going to go through a lot of tabs. I've got a lot open, so hang with me. We're going to go through them, and yes, I will put all of them down below. It'll take me a while on these because there's a lot of them, but you can read them all down below at your leisure and use them to share and share liberally, okay? It's going to start out here with a White House tweet that says, "Dear Madam Speaker," and then it has the letter from Trump. And I'm sure by now you already heard about the letter because the Democrats were all getting ready to go on this big trip overseas. And Trump said, not going to happen. And they were ticked about it. They were fuming. Well, even Sarah Sanders repeated it. Now I'm going to show you the actual letter here. So here's the letter. And it was dated January 17th. And for those who are Q people, you know the 17th has, a warm place in our heart. So I think it's kind of funny that it came out on the 17th. But POTUS waited until the last minute to do this. That is what is so funny about this. I mean, serious, you gotta laugh at it because they were already loaded on the bus, all ready to go. Where in the world were they going? I mean, they just got back from Puerto Rico and we have a government shutdown. How can they negotiate and compromise and come up with some kind of deal if they're not even there to negotiate with? So, anyway, that's the situation going on. And of course, you probably already know too that Nancy Pelosi didn't necessarily uninvite POTUS to Congress for the State of the Union address, but she pretty much kind of did. We were worried about all the security issues with all the members of Congress there and everything. And it's like, yeah, do you understand how these people work? The Secret Service and everything? They don't come in the day before an event and set up their security. They've been planning it for probably a couple of months already. So all the details are there. They pretty much have everything they need all where they need it. So she really looks bad for doing this, and you know it was just a political ploy. She doesn't want Trump getting on a stage where many Americans will see what he has to say, because it's not going to look good for the Democrats. So anyway, that's what led up to this. And then he sent out this letter and he says, "Dear Madam Speaker, due to the shutdown, I am sorry to inform you that your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan has been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over. In light of the 800,000 great American workers not receiving pay, I am sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate. I also feel that during this period, it would be better if you were in Washington negotiating with me and joining the strong border security movement to end the shutdown. Obviously, if you would like to make your journey by flying commercial, that would certainly be your prerogative. I look forward to seeing you soon, and even more forward to watching our open and dangerous southern border finally receive the attention, funding, and security it so desperately deserves." This man is a master troll. I mean, you can't read this and not see what he was doing. As Dan Bongino always says, he gets them to show their butts, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's saying, "Oh, look at this, guys. Here you are, we're in this shutdown, and you're complaining about these 800,000 great American workers not receiving their pay, and you're going to run off on this public relations event? I think not." I love this. It made my day. Go POTUS. When I heard about it, it was like, yeah, that's what we put him in there for. He needed to do this kind of thing. This is a power struggle, make no mistake, but it's not a power struggle between Nancy Pelosi and President Trump. This is a power struggle between the deep state and our legitimate government. So make sure you understand that she is representing the deep state. And she's their person they put in place specifically to do this kind of stuff and to stand up strong against Trump. And a lot of people who are Democrats who only watch the mainstream media are seeing her as a hero for standing up to that mean old awful Trump. Yeah, but most of us don't see that. So people who are actually thinking people and who understand the situation that's going on understand that's not what she is at all. But anyway, this was brilliant in my opinion. Way to go, POTUS. Yay. Love it. And anyway, I did go over to the 8chan boards because I wanted to see what the Anons were saying about it because it was spectacular. So let's see what they have to say here. This is one of them that he put up. This is from Kevin Cork, and he says, source tells John Roberts Fox that Speaker Pelosi was scheduled to leave at 3:30 p.m. today. Ouch. I love the ouch. And of course, these guys are going crazy on it. Best day ever. And who said Americans don't have a sense of humor? Yeah, there's a lot of the F word in this, so bet she used salty language. And then all of those, POTUS is killing him. And then this was one of them. He said, I didn't include the actual original SmackDown letter, last board. When you see that LB or PB, PB means previous board, LB is last board. Because waiting for sauce. Can you add these sauce posts to bottom notables below? So that has to do with the notables and everything. So they were trying to get it all together and make sure this went in the notables. There is the White House version, and this CNN article mentioned that POTUS had been very silent about her telling him to postpone his State of the Union address or just write it down and submit it to Congress. Yeah, like that's gonna happen. I don't think so. Anyway, and this guy, he was laughing too much. He said he should have put a spoiler alert over it because it was just too funny. Anyway, they've got a lot of things in the notables. When you see something like this, they always put this at the top of each board. They have this thing that looks like this, and what this is, these are the notables. These are things that they have picked up along the way. They're not necessarily Q confirmed. They're not necessarily a non-confirmed, really. They're just interesting things that pop up and they think maybe it needs to dig more, or it's just something that people need to be aware of. This movie has comedy. Yeah, it does. I mean, they just have a lot of fun stuff that they usually say, leaving on a jet plane. Not. So, these are some of them. Her trip to Afghanistan was classified for security reasons. Narrator, it's not anymore. Oh, I just think they are so funny sometimes to read their reactions to things. And so, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. Oh, it was funny. It was funny indeed. So yeah, the Anons were really spewed my coffee on this one. So that was pretty good. Here's a Breitbart article with photos. This has mostly tweets here, so the confused Democrat lawyers were left sitting idle on a military bus near the Capitol after President Donald Trump postponed their 7-day foreign trip as the partial government shutdown continues. And then we can start seeing them. There's the bus. Fox has told Cap Hill security officials got an emergency call from the Pentagon canceling the overseas trip due to shutdown. No one here knows if the trip is going to happen or not. Lots of confusion. And they were already on the bus at this point. That's what's funny. So here they are. They're on the bus. House members sitting on an Air Force bus between the Longworth and Rayburn House office buildings, waiting to see if they are still going overseas after Trump canceled their trip. Okay, really, should it take a rocket scientist to understand that if there's a government shutdown, you know, you guys should not be traveling someplace. You should be staying there working and actually trying to fix the problem. I don't understand the mentality behind thinking it would be fine to just go ahead and go. It just is crazy, especially since they were going to be gone for the next pay period. The next pay period's coming up soon in just a few days. They wouldn't have been here for it, and they're certainly not going to resolve it when they're overseas. So this one says, bus taking lawmakers on Codell just left Capitol Hill. Lawmakers on board, unknown who on board and whether Speaker Pelosi was or not. Oh, I'm pretty sure she probably was. Can you imagine what happened when they got that letter, though? I just think it's too funny. Yeah, members getting off bus and going back into Capitol. Bus circled around and dropped lawmakers off at Capitol. Representative Adam Schiff came off. I don't have any comment. I bet he was ticked. Oh, man. The bus went around the block and back to the Capitol where members eventually got off. So they rode around on a bus all day. That's what they did. Oh, bus leaving Capitol grounds. A few people still on board. Unknown who. One video shows House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff exiting the bus in front of the Capitol building. There he is. It's just so funny. This is what went on today because everybody on the news is watching this bus go round and round and round, trying to decide. The bus circled the block again and is back again. Oh, I'm sorry. This is just too funny. This is just classic Trump. I mean, the guy is a master at doing this stuff. Anyway, that's enough of my laughing and everything. But there we go. That's the letter. I'll have links to all these websites down below. You can go see them yourself. But I wanted to point out a couple more things that the Anons came up with. And one of them was this right here that came in a little bit before one of the major posts that I was looking at. And this is very interesting. When it's in green like this, they're quoting from somebody and see the PB, the previous board. Okay, this is the post that they're referring to and quoting from. Relative to Nancy P., Mexico, etc., I had noted in an earlier meme that Nancy's net worth took quite a jump in 2009 and 2010. The young lady who is Senior Associate Director for APCO worked on media relations for Obamacare for Nancy in 2009. If figures in the meme are accurate, Nancy's net worth jumped by about 40% in 2009, then about 65% in 2010. That's a pretty big jump there, from 12.5 million net worth to 21.7 million between 2008 and 2009. Like she was getting some extra money for maybe doing something for someone's presidential campaign. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. And then this one, they were talking about Mexico brings down the House because there are some Mexican ties as well with her. House Majority Leader Hoyer says, President Trump's decision to postpone Speaker Pelosi's foreign trip via military aircraft is petty and ridiculous. Yeah, petty and ridiculous. Right. So there's the letter again. And this is what the Anons, I mean, you see a big bunch of Anons are responding to it. I'm not going to go through all of them. But what they're trying to point out here is that President Trump put specifically Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan. So this Anon was saying, hey, did he do that on purpose so we would dig on those three places and see how they're connected with Nancy Pelosi? Could be something interesting. And then down here, there's this one. Senior Democratic aide notes that the president has now disclosed the planned travel itinerary to a war zone of the person third in line to the presidency, something we never ever do due to security concerns. Not just that, but check the genius at work here. He cancels her trip at the last minute. He declassifies her confidential flight plans. He makes them concerned about security. He makes them talk about everything he wants them to talk about. That is classic. I mean, that is what he does right there. It's just amazing how he can do that. And then this one pointed out what I was thinking. I'm still asking the question, guys. Pelosi said yesterday you can't expect security to organize a SOTU, that's the State of the Union address, if they're not getting paid, while knowing the next day she's hopping on a plane on a Codell which has security. If security isn't being paid for POTUS, why would it be paid for a Codell? Scalise dropped the security issue this morning, but it either didn't click that she was getting set up or she just said, F it. Then the latest tweet saying all codels are postponed puts the icing on the cake. Ask the question, why are security concerns a big deal for Sotu but not for her own trip? I think she got set up bigly. Yeah, I think she did too. Now, in other news, like I said, it's just been a day where there's just been tons of stuff, and I wanted to get that in, but I also want to get in this about Bruce Orr, and his testimony, has come out now, and his testimony contradicts Adam Schiff. Yeah, if you remember, there was a Nunes memo that came out and really told us all of this stuff that was going on. It gave us the overview. Well, and then the Democrats, and of course the Democrats at the time were begging not to have it released because it's going to divulge national security issues. And then it came out and we found out, no, it had no such thing in there. So they were lying about it. Well, then, of course, they had to put out a memo saying, their point of view and their side of the story. Well, Adam Schiff was the one that put that out, his side of the memo. And he was the one that was saying, well, the Republicans mischaracterizes Bruce Orr's role, overstate the significance of his interactions with Steele, and mislead about the time frame of Orr's communication with the FBI. Well, no, because they said that Democrats claimed only in late November 2016 Orr informed the FBI of his prior professional relationship with Steele and information that Steele shared with him. However, Orr himself conflicts with that because he said, no, I talked to him before that. Orr claimed Steele told him during a meeting September 23rd, 2016, he was desperate that Trump not win election. September 23rd. Orr testified he had shared details of his contacts with Steele with the FBI prior to the election. So, Adam Schiff, proven wrong. And it shows what we all really knew, that the Schiff memo was totally bogus, and they only made it up to try to discredit the Republicans, and especially Devin Nunes. Now, switching gears just a tad here real quick. I found this also while I was on the 8chan boards, and I thought I'd toss it out there because it's a really creepy little thing here. Brussels. That was one of the places they were going. So did it have anything to do with this? I don't know. I think it had to do with NATO, and it said that Nancy Pelosi was going to reassure them of the U.S. commitment to NATO. I'm not so sure President Trump is committed to NATO, so I don't know necessarily that she was representing him. I don't think she was. So anyway, this is a video. I'm not going to show you the video, but I will put the link down below. You can watch it. Brussels climate protest. More than 10,000 children skip school to join demonstration in Belgian capital. Now tell me, look at this girl. How old do you think she is? Do you really think she understands about climate change? Do you really think that she knows the battle that's going on and the different sides of the issue? I don't think so. Those kids are being used. And one of my very first videos was about the protests going on about the Parkland shooting, because I noticed a lot of anomalies. As a retired teacher, there were some things that I was suspicious about, and especially I found out that the kids were being paid by a Democrat organization to get out of school and to organize these protests. Yeah, they were being paid. And as a teacher, I'm pretty sure the majority kids that got out of school did it because they got out of school. Not because they had any interest in what was going on. They didn't have to sit in class. I worked with high school kids for 22 years. I can tell you, if they get a chance to do something and somebody says, hey, you can get out of school for the afternoon, you think they're going to say no? I mean, there might have been a handful who actually understood why they were out there, but the majority had no clue. They really didn't know. They really didn't care. They just wanted to sit outside talking to their friends. Really, seriously. That's what happened. And of course, that was a video that YouTube demonetized, so it got absolutely no play. It has maybe 50 views, if that many. I don't know. And it wasn't my best video because it was at the beginning, but Hopefully I've gotten a little better since then. But it still was my opinion on it, and they evidently didn't like that because I contradicted the narrative. But anyway, I will put this down below, and you can see how thousands skip school to attend climate protests. Yeah, it's kind of like child abuse, really, because they are manipulating these kids in a big way. So, again, I will put that down below. You can look at that later. This is an article also that came out on the 15th, and this is really one that I want you to pay close attention to because this is the former top FBI lawyer James Baker under criminal investigation for media leaks. Okay, now we know James Baker, again, he was the former top FBI lawyer. And he is now under criminal investigation for media leaks. We know for sure there are two being investigated. And one of them is Andrew McCabe, and this is the second one. But there are lots more, folks. We just haven't heard about him. This one they let slip that he was under investigation. He was being interviewed by Jordan and Mark Meadows, and during the transcript of it, they came up with the situation where he wouldn't answer any more questions, and his lawyer, Daniel Levin, told lawmakers, you may or may not know, Baker has been the subject of a leak investigation, a criminal leak investigation that's still active at the Justice Department. So we know for sure that he is under investigation. Now, The Hill had an article that followed up on that because Jordan and Mark Meadows sent a letter to the US Attorney of Connecticut asking for more information about the leak investigation that came up during Baker's interview before the House Judiciary and Oversight and Government Reform Committees in October. And yes, I do have the letter right here. And basically they start out and they ask this US Attorney Durham is the guy's name. And they ask about, hey, here's the transcript. It's very interesting. Read through the transcript. And in the course of the transcript, they're talking about this. And Mr. Levin, that's the guy's lawyer. That's James Baker's lawyer. I'm sorry, I'm cutting off any discussion about conversations with reporters. And Jordan says, based on... You're saying he's under criminal investigation? That's why you're not letting him answer? And Levin says, yes. Just to clarify for us, your counsel advising Mr. Baker not to answer the question not because of it's classified, not because of any classification concerns, but because there is an ongoing investigation by whom? The Justice Department. I mean, is the Inspector General looking at this, or is this... No, it's Mr. John Durham, a prosecutor. Mr. Huber. Durham. Okay, and go back again. Tell me exactly what the investigation, the reason you can't answer more specific questions about the dossier is because there's an investigation, an ongoing investigation as we speak, looking into exactly what. And I'm sorry, I didn't say he couldn't answer any questions about the dossier, and he just has answered some. I didn't want him talking about interactions with reporters because there is an ongoing leak investigation that the department is having. He just talked to me about his interactions with a reporter. Well, he talked a little bit about it, but I don't want him talking about conversations he's had with reporters because I don't know what the questions are, and I don't know what the answers are right now. Given that there is an ongoing investigation of him for leaks, which the department has not closed, I'm not comfortable letting him answer questions. So in terms of getting stuff from Mr. Korn, he told you what he remembers about it. And Korn was one of the reporters that he was talking about. Okay, so you can go through the rest of this. There's more of the transcript and everything. But essentially, this lawyer just outed his client, James Baker, and let us all know that he's being investigated. And the interesting thing is, he is not being investigated by Huber. He's being investigated by Durham. Now, who is this Durham guy? Well, this Anon right here suggested it's plausible U.S. Attorney John Durham is the other prosecutor outside of D.C. assigned by Sessions with the same mandate and authority Q alluded to. because Q had told us that in one of his drops. While there are likely several other prosecutors and U.S. attorneys like Huber working with Huber, this attorney is notable. We have been wondering for a while who is investigating the leaks, and it didn't appear Huber was. But we have confirmation John Durham is. And he is also outside D.C. with the same authority as Huber, a U.S. attorney, but Huber is leading the investigations per Sessions. That was according to Sessions' letter on March 29th of 2018. A bunch of sources, is added, and then he's talking about this graphic up here, explaining what Durham is doing, what Huber is doing, why Huber didn't show up to the testimony, and Rod Rosenstein is out. I'll make sure you have a link to it. This Anons says, well, Huber's working with Uranium One, FISA, FBI, DOJ, Clinton Foundation, etc., whereas Durham is working on leaks, the mainstream media collusion, etc. So, is that possible? I don't know. Could be. Here's a little bit more about the guy. This is back November 1st, 2017. Trump nominates John Durham as next U.S. Attorney for Connecticut. And they do talk about him a little bit. He's a 40-year career federal prosecutor, was nominated Wednesday by President Donald Trump to be the next U.S. Attorney for Connecticut. And then you have to pay to get the rest of the article. And here it is on the Department of Justice website. It tells a little more about him. And he served as interim U.S. Attorney since October 28, 2017, after U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions signed an order appointing him to the position. President Donald Trump nominated him to serve as U.S. Attorney on November 1st, and the U.S. Senate confirmed his nomination on February 16th. And then look what he was doing prior. Prior to his appointment as U.S. Attorney, Mr. Durham served as an assistant U.S. Attorney in various positions in the District of Connecticut for 35 years, prosecuting complex organized crime, violent crime, public corruption, and financial fraud matters. So it sounds to me like this is the kind of guy we want in there right now, because those are exactly the things he should be dealing with. So that's what I've got for you today. And John Durham, I think we're going to see more about him. The Anons have started digging on him, and I assume they'll be coming up with a lot more interesting information soon. But for now, this is what we've got. I think he's probably one of the guys working with Huber, and he probably is doing investigations of his own that have resulted in some of those sealed indictments that are out there. So anyway, that's what I've got for you today. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.